What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at OccupyFantasy.com, here with a look at the giant 13-game main slates on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, and MLB DFS here on Friday, May 27th. Happy to have you here for another look through the slate. As always, here at Occupy, we like to start by looking at the pitching options that are available on the evening. We have quite a few names that people will recognize available, and I've already filtered this for guys with some more strikeout upside. Justin Verlander of the Houston Astros is the number one option in the Occupy model tonight. Not by much, but still elite nonetheless with a 19.4 OF index tonight against the Seattle Mariners. You see Verlander as a minus 200 moneyline favorite. You see Verlander has a 1.06 strikeout per inning pitch projection here. Reasonable StatCast performance. Verlander looking like a really strong play here against a struggling Mariners team tonight. Basically, he checks all the boxes, so there's really no reason not to play Verlander other than maybe some salary concerns here, which we'll get into in a second. Sean Manaea with the San Diego Padres is right here with Justin Verlander as basically a number one option on this slate, 19.3 versus 19.4. Consider Verlander and Manaea the clear number one and number two tonight to consider in your lineups. Manaea facing the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. The Pirates are striking out at above average rate. They're a below average lineup in terms of fantasy point production. This is a great spot for Sean Manaea. Project him for slightly more strikeouts per innings pitched than Verlander at a lower price. The difference between Verlander and Manaea tonight. Manaea giving up some concerning StatCast numbers recently. Batters are hitting the ball pretty far off of him and pretty hard. Harder than Verlander anyway. So that would be one reason to maybe consider Verlander over Manaea, but both these guys in really strong spots as the biggest favorites on the slate tonight. Shane Bieber with the Cleveland Guardians. He probably has the best matchup here of all these names at the top of the list. Comes in a little lower than Verlander and Manaea, but he's at that 17 threshold that we like for an elite play. So really all three of these guys are in good spots tonight. Bieber is a lower favorite, less of a favorite than the two above him at minus 165 tonight for the Guardians. And line movement actually seems to be on Detroit's side here. But Bieber does carry the highest strikeout upside of this big three. And Bieber is seeing slightly better StatCast numbers recently than Manaea, worse than Verlander. So that's a look at the top three options to consider tonight. You may need a value arm. And a value arm that could pop tonight, he'll need a perfect game script to get there, is Garrett Whitlock with the Boston Red Sox. We see Whitlock is projected for 1.04 strikeouts per innings pitched against the Baltimore Orioles tonight. Whitlock has made 6 starts since the end of April, and he's averaged just under 4 innings per outing. He can strike out hitters at a extremely high rate. He has a 10.58 K9 over the last year of his work between bullpen work last year, the beginning of this year, and his starts. That averages out to a little more than what we're forecasting tonight, about 1.18 strikeouts per innings pitched. So think about a script where Whitlock kind of mows down the Orioles in order, efficiently, and he faces 20 or so hitters in 5 innings. That's how he ends up optimal tonight at pitcher. And that'll probably allow you to pay up for some of the more expensive bats in the lineup with one of these three guys at the top. That's certainly, it's not a required path, but I think that is something that you will see the field do tonight. So I just figured you should be aware of that if you're watching this video. Something with Whitlock that's a concern is his StatCast numbers are not the best. He's probably one of the arms that's struggling the most out of anyone we consider a roster tonight. And a lot of that has to do with what he did last time out. I mean, you see he actually gave us -3 fantasy points against the Mariners the last time he took the hill 5 days ago. So that's the concern with Whitlock, but Whitlock is a value arm I think people will look at this evening. That's enough on Garrett Whitlock. You probably want to hear more about the teams that you should stack, the bats that you should play tonight. And our model has a pretty good read on that situation. Let's go back over here and look at the worst pitchers in our model on the slate. So Madison Bumgarner and Ryan Pepiot here in the bottom three. I've sorted this by A to Z. This game does not have a money line yet, so these guys are a little lower, and this is just something our model tends to do. When we don't have betting market information, the pitchers are ranked really low. When that information comes in, you may see the ranking shift a little bit. I do think that the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are going to be an interesting pair of teams to consider in this head-to-head because both of these arms are probably worth targeting. We look at Pepiot here. He doesn't pitch deep into games thus far. He's had a couple of outings that have only gone 3 and 4 innings, but his batted ball distance is the highest allowed on this slate. So that's one reason why the Diamondbacks may be a really interesting stack this evening. And then we have Madison Bumgarner, who is the lowest ranked right now without the money line in. He's giving up some pretty hard contact, pretty far contact recently. So even when the money line comes in, these guys may end up being arms that we're targeting with our stacks. Aaron Sanchez is pitching for the Nationals against the Rockies tonight. He gives up the hardest batted ball data to hitters in the recent sample, so that's a reason to consider the Rockies away from Coors tonight. Other teams that I suspect to see near the top when we flip over to the stacks dashboard here, maybe the Astros against Flexen or the Brewers against Dakota Hudson. Be really interested to see what our model thinks here about stacks. So let's check it out. The Colorado Rockies, number 1 against Aaron Sanchez. Number 1 by OF Index, number 1 by projected isolated slugging, number 2 by weighted on base average, and a lower 8th on the slate implied team total. This, to me, suggests the Rockies are going to be an interesting play tonight because we rank them very highly, but they're a little undervalued in betting markets compared to some of the other top plays on the board for us. The Boston Red Sox, little bit of a surprise, not too much when you dive into the deeper numbers. So the Red Sox have the number 1 weighted on base average projection and the number 1 implied team total of 6.1 runs here against Kyle Bradish of the Baltimore Orioles. Bradish is ranked closer to the bottom of our model. He's sort of in the middle of the pack here, but Bradish has StatCast profile here that suggests the Red Sox could continue their recent run of success here against him this evening. The Arizona Diamondbacks, discussed them. The Philadelphia Phillies are really interesting. Number 2 by isolated slugging on this slate. Number 4 by OF Index. A reasonably high weighted on base average projection. Very modest team total. Middle of the pack tonight. The Phillies popped in almost 45%. I think it was exactly 45% of MME lineups I was running in our lineup builder here at Occupy Fantasy this morning to figure out what the model thinks we should do on this giant slate. Philly stacks are extremely intriguing. And when we look at some of the underlying information as to why that might be, they're facing Carlos Carrasco of the Mets tonight. Carrasco allows an elite isolated slugging and weighted on base average to right-handed hitters especially. So the Phillies are probably going to come in lower owned than any of these top 4 teams. And in our model, I'll filter for the Phillies here. You see we have Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. That's a pair of left-handed hitters, but they're just good hitters in general. Reese Hoskins, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto. There is a potential here to do something with the Phillies against Carrasco. You see the team total is going up. The thing that'll be difficult with the Phillies is there's no access, at least at the top of the stack here, to those key, crucial middle infield positions to fill. Each of the second base, third base, shortstop options with the Phillies are lower ranked options in our model. Doesn't mean we shouldn't play them. It's just an indicator of why this is not necessarily going to be the most popular play tonight. I've built a lineup here on DraftKings that utilizes the Phillies against Carrasco. I've got Sean Manaea as the top pitcher, a little cheaper than Verlander. I like his matchup against the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. Discussed that already. And I like the Phillies in this matchup against Carlos Carrasco. Now let's look at a Red Sox lineup. And the reason I want to do that is to show you why, not only just based off of the projection in our model and the betting market information they'll be popular, it's the positions as well. You flip over to the Red Sox in our model, and we have Devers, Martinez, Bogarts, Kike Hernandez, Trevor Story, third base, shortstop, second base. You look at the StatCast performance recently. Raffy Devers is hitting the ball very well. JD hitting the ball very well. Story hitting the ball very well, the home run machine lately. But when you go in here and you select the Red Sox and you roster these top hitters that we have in our model that are available, they plug in these crucial middle of the infield positions in a DFS lineup. It's a lot easier to find a catcher, first baseman, and outfielder to fit around that. So I suspect in addition to Bradish being a good arm to target, this is just another reason why the field is probably going to be all over the Red Sox tonight. They're a good play, but they're probably going to be the most popular play tonight. And when you're playing large field contests with thousands of lineups being entered into them, you need to think about the ways that this potentially does not fit into the picture of an optimal lineup, and maybe try to leverage that. That's just something that I think you should be concerned about on this slate with the Red Sox. Over on FanDuel, have Manaea, 4 high upside Phillies hitters. Early in the day, this is one of the ways our model thinks you should try to play it, so I'm looking further into that. That's what I think I'm going to try to do here, at least at 9:30 in the morning on a Friday. Come back in the later hours of the evening. Daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com will be updated by about 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll have our final rankings for the slate, our final top stacks, our final pitchers that we're considering, based off of all the confirmed lineup information that comes in. We'll also have some projections for ownership, and that'll help us make some decisions in large field on what to do with our lineups. If you want to talk about MLB DFS up until then, you can consider joining our Discord. It's a link to do so below the description of every video. And as always, we will talk to you soon for more MLB DFS.